program does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff, management, ownership of the station. Jay and Janine are expressing their own opinions, and such is not a substitute for psychological or mental health advice. If you are experiencing an emergency, please hang up and call 911.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show, where we're talking everything personal development, coaching, health, and the law. I'm your host, Jay, here with co-host Janine.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Please join us on Facebook, where we can be found at the Momentum Mindset Show. And if you want to call in and be part of the show, we would love to hear from you. It's 888-565-1470. And if being on live radio is not your thing, no problem. Send us your comments and we will interact with you on Facebook.
Let's create some momentum. Good afternoon and welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show.
Hello, everybody. It's Friday. Yay!
Yes, it is. Friday at 5 p.m. And here we are again. And as like we do in every single show, we like to start, as we do when we get together to our accountability meetings. We're going to move around a little bit.
Let's shake it.
So, again, if you're in a car, let's not do this. I mean, just wait till you get home, because if you could watch this again, from what I understand, on Facebook. And we're just going to get up for just a second, and we're just going to shake around and shake up our energy. Just shake it. Shake the booty.
Wait. I don't know where the camera is.
I've been sitting on it all week long. And, it feels good to just kind of move around.
Exactly.
And get out of that office chair and feel a little bit good on a Friday afternoon. Yes. And I have to say, what a week.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful week, actually. Lots of wonderful things have come to fruition. It just goes to show, when you put in the hard work and you believe and you don't give up, things really work out.
And we're gonna do a couple things. I know we have a phone number to give out here in a little bit. I don't see it right in front of me.
It's 888-565-1470. We would love for you all to call in and participate in the show. It's interactive, and we want to hear from you towards the end, right?
Well, a little bit after about midway through the show. So
yeah.
you can call in now, and I know that there's an opportunity to be on hold for just a few minutes, and we do want to hear from you, because what we were thinking about this week, and we're going to get into what we experienced this week, but I'm going to give out that phone number one more time. It's 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470. And because what we were thinking about, as we're getting used to doing these shows,
yes,
is to invite everybody to be a part of our accountability group, to invite everybody to share with us and let us support you, and you can support us in what we're up to as well.
Absolutely. It's not by accident that Jay uses the catchphrase, "We're stronger together." It's absolutely true. And we've experienced a lot of team, and we've experienced a lot of things. So we live the tenets that we propose or suggest and talk about.
Exactly. And
on that note,
a safe space starts with what we like to call a grounding. A grounding is essentially when we're sitting and we're getting ready to start going over what we're going after for the week, or debriefing what we're going after week. We start with thinking about, what are we committed to in this for this show.
Right.
And for instance, I'm in this moment, I'm committed to openness, connection, vulnerability, and some fun.
Right. And I am committed to creating team, connection, and momentum.
See, this sets your intention for the day. Yeah. I do a grounding myself in the mornings when I start my day right at 3:45, and I'm back to that. I am back to 3:45, and wow, does it feel good. It sets the intention, though, for the day of what we're looking to create, and for me today, looking to create some openness, some connection, and a lot of fun. Now, getting into the last week, I want to explain some of the things that we've been up to.
Yeah.
But also some of the breakthroughs that we had. I mean, the last show that I was here, I mean, I got some of this feedback. I mean, and I was still coming through this depression, this fog.
Yeah.
And last Friday, I had done what's known as breath work, really for this, like the first time with this individual, and I experienced, wow. It cracked me open. By the time I was finished, I was crying.
Yeah.
I was crying
It's
because
powerful. For anyone who hasn't experienced breath work, it's nothing that you can explain very easily, but I would encourage all of you to really seek out a practice. It's absolutely phenomenal.
See, I wasn't crying because I was mourning. Actually, quite the opposite. I connected to some part of me that was between me and me. It was absolutely beautiful. I mean, the process was like an hour, and it was like it sounds like it's breathing. but when I finished that on Friday, and we went through the day, and we did the show. On Saturday, I decided to go to the Aventura Mall, and I just don't go to the Aventura Mall. I just don't ever get the chance to really go down there. But I wanted to try something different. I wanted to have a little bit of different energy.
Yeah.
And I made an intention before I walked into the mall that I'm going to smile. I'm going to walk through the entire mall smiling. And it sounds like easy, but it's not. It's not, because my default is to be stoic and to be closed off. But in this instance, I wasn't. I decided to smile. And you know what happened?
How did it go? What happened when you smiled, Jay?
People smiled back at me. Could you?
What?
People smiled.
That's outrageous.
I got smile after smile after smile, and my day just got better and better and better.
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking about going to Disney World, for taking my inner child to Disney World for the day. And as fate would have it, the universe said, "Well, there's a nail."
Go to the mall instead.
There's a nail in my tire, so I had to drop my car off at the dealership for a few hours. But what happened was, I wrote music. Like so,
Yeah.
and this is after, and I noticed these things. I write them down, and when I go through a new type of transformational tool, like breath work, I notice what shows up in my environment after I do it. The weekend after this breath work was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible, because
It's really powerful stuff.
I wrote this music on Saturday, and it was just one of those songs that I actually I posted on Facebook because I wanted to listen to it in my car, and it's the easiest way to record and put it into my car. And I drove around the city of Fort Lauderdale listening to my own music, and crazy as this sounds. And
Yeah, how does that feel? That must be a
I didn't tell you
surreal
something.
experience.
Just to feel, I could hear my soul coming through this music.
Wow.
And driving around and knowing that this is me. And the what started on Friday, and I didn't know what to call it on Friday because I didn't know what was going to show up, really was about self-love. It really was about self-love.
Yeah.
It was really about the journey that I've been on for the last now 322 days has been about, I've had a number of reasons, and I've said that I've gone after different goals. Mm-hmm. But really, what I called untreated unworthiness, the answer to untreated unworthiness is self-love. And
Yeah.
how do you say that? I had my second breath work this morning, and the topic was self-love, and I was asked, do you love yourself? And I didn't want to just give that answer. Oh, yes, of course I love myself. I wanted to.
Because what does that even mean? I don't think that that's something that we're used to even contemplating necessarily. We're taught, we don't associate love with ourselves very often. In fact, love for us and the way we're raised in our culture is something that's external and that we experience through other people, which of course we do, and it's absolutely amazing and the whole thing. Yet the connection to the self and loving yourself is something different for us. I think it's something that most of us struggle with. Very few people have that on point. I think you have it on point as a child, but it's somehow educated out of you.
It's not an educational type of feeling, though. When you're talking about, do you love yourself? What do you think would be some evidence of you loving yourself?
I think taking care of yourself, taking care of your health, being aware of your own body, who you are as a human being, how you show up in life, taking care of how you show up in relationship, healthy boundaries. There's a myriad of ways to show self-love. But my point about it's educated out of you is that it's a natural state maybe at the beginning, and then somehow you're not taught to connect to that, and so you're not taught necessarily how to care for yourself. And again, you experience life and love through the external only, and so you become disconnected with the self.
So you're saying as a child, it's pretty natural just to have
I
it.
imagine.
I mean,
I imagine, because children live for themselves.
Well, I'm 43 going on 14. So
No, we know that.
but I connect to that.
Yeah.
What you just said.
Yeah.
That childlike wonder, that feeling of being a kid. There's no room for embarrassment or am I doing something wrong? I mean, as a kid, when you're 4, 5, 6 years old.
Children, when they're in their most beautiful, innocent state, they'll go up to strangers. They'll hug on people. They don't know how to be anything other than who they are authentically. And not each child is like that, but I'm just giving an example of a child who is. But it's through the course of time that they start disconnecting from that because someone tells them no, or stranger danger, or don't do that, or they get rejected. And so somewhere along the line, there's an education, right, outside of the school, or experiences, I should say, that sort of start informing the child to disconnect from that essence and to be something or someone, to take on a persona.
Now, we have a couple of topics on this show that we wanted to talk about, and some of which is basically not just self-love, but you as a coach. How do you work with people that you can identify people with the self-love conversation? What are some of the things that you do? And we'll get in that in the next segment.
Sure, I'd love to. I think it's a fascinating topic, and it's something that our show also is about sparking conversation, provoking thought, and really sort of kind of scratching at those ideas that ruminate, or those feelings that might be ruminating, and you don't necessarily have anybody to talk to them about. So we want to bring up conversations that are in the mainstream kind of, but we also want to show you how we incorporate the tools of transformation into tangible results and tangible experiences. Because you mentioned I'm a coach, and I would love to share this conversation about self-love and how it shows up with my clients and how I leverage that conversation as well. But also we were discussing how the tools of transformation are applicable to you. You're an attorney.
Right.
And you're a transformational trainer, and you use the tools in absolutely everything you do. So I think that this is something that, would like to discuss with the audience, because a lot of people may be wondering what we're up to, and these concepts are wonderful and they sound great, and they may be a little woo-woo to some people. Dad, yes, I'm talking to you. And but also, but part of what we'd like to do is show people in concrete examples how the tools of transformation are applicable not only to coaching, not only to being a transformational trainer, obviously, but also in the law and in anything that you choose to apply it to.
Right, and the tools also apply to how do you express the self-love to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So we have, and coming up with these shows, we're thinking about the structure of that, and again we're creating a safe space here for you to call in or write in and ask us questions or just give us some feedback. We want to hear from you. So the general topic of this show is self-love, and how do you express
self-love, self-care,
how do you create worthiness for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And what we'd like to talk about underneath that general topic is how do I use it in my practice? Mm-hmm. How do I use the tools of transformation in my practice and in coaching as well?
Yeah.
So we're gonna take a commercial break, and we'll be back here in a couple minutes.
Stay.
Farrow Law Firm. Are you in default with your loan modification? Has your rate adjusted? We can help. Reach out to us today and we'll put our 10 years of foreclosure defense experience to work for you. Call us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to the Momentum Mindset Show, Friday
Welcome.
afternoon. I'm your host, Jay Farrow,
And I'm Janine Davis.
and we're discussing today self-love as it relates to your life. How does it show up in your life? What do you do? What are the things that you do during the day that you would consider self-love activities? How do you demonstrate that for yourself? I mean, I was asked this question. It kind of floored me, actually. When someone
because
asked
it's not
me,
something that we readily talk about.
you know, do
or
I
think about.
do you love yourself? And then you have that. Well, of course I do. And then what my answer was surprising because my answer followed this last weekend of breakthrough, where for the last 10 months, I've noticed a pattern for myself that I really beat myself up. I beat myself up in my thoughts.
Right.
I'll say I think that I missed a credit card payment by a day, for example, and I'm like, Jay, how did you do that? And what's coming up for you? I mean, come on, you got. I mean, this is your credit. This is your life. This is how do you not figure that out? How do you not put that on your calendar? I mean, how does that not work? I mean, you have the money in your account, but yet you don't do it. I mean, and then so that means your self-worth. This is what runs my head.
Right. Right. One thought feeds the other, and then the next thing you know, you're in a death spiral of self-judgment and self-loathing.
And so in the last 3 weeks, I've had a couple of circumstances come up at work with some clients and with a court. And the scenarios would have otherwise run me. I mean, just like with the pat in my head, like a hamster, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Playing chess against myself and with myself of every negative possible scenario.
Right.
But here's what the breakthrough was. And this is the first time ever. I don't say things just to say them. I say them when they come up, and it actually, it's my experience, and it's true for me. Mm-hmm. This last week, and especially, let's say the last week, I've experienced things happening in my life that would have otherwise been a catastrophe for me. Would have completely maybe wanted to go home, quit. I would be living in terror. But these instances came up. I handled them. And I didn't take them home with me. That's
huge.
For me,
that is a huge breakthrough.
For me to have that win of not feeling like I needed to please somebody. Like, what are they thinking about me? Oh my God, I acted in a certain way. And then judging myself for how I acted and how I think that the other people are thinking about me. And I was like, it just stopped.
Wow, that's sensational.
And what I credit it for the last 321 days of coming up against it. And if you haven't seen this scene, and I quote this scene quite a bit, it's the movie called War Games, and it's with Matthew Broderick. It's from like the 1980s. But
this movie
this last scene,
sorry, I'm laughing.
This last scene is so powerful because in the last scene, the computer plays itself. Basically, there's a time clock going down, and there's a nuclear code, and the computer starts playing this game of mutually assured destruction.
Right.
And ultimately, the computer plays itself to the point where it says, "Strange game. The only way to win is not to play." And I think about that quote as it relates to me beating myself up for things and circumstances that show up in my life.
Right.
Instead of adding compassion, and if I can say that if there was a way for me to tell you that I love myself, is that I've exercised intentionally compassion for myself. Because when I set goals and I don't achieve them, and I didn't for some time, that would be a good chance for Jay to take himself outside and kick my own butt.
Yeah, again, it's that cycle and that habit of self-loathing and just really, yeah, beating yourself up in a way that you would probably never, ever, ever do to another human
I
being.
wouldn't talk to anybody. I wouldn't talk to my worst enemy
Well, you
the way that I
wouldn't
talk
dare.
to myself.
Well, that's the thing. You wouldn't dare, and that really speaks a lot to, how incredibly judgmental we can be to ourselves, and how incredibly harmful that is ultimately, and how that's really the antithesis of self-love. Self-love does show up in compassion. Self-love says, you know what? I made a mistake, but I am not my mistake, right? There's this distinction between
right.
feeling guilt in that moment and then feeling shame. Shame is I am a terrible person, as opposed to I made a terrible mistake and I forgive myself and I'm going to remedy and all of the other sort of, sometimes you can't remedy and sometimes you still have to forgive yourself, and you don't always have to go to shame, but it's a habit, right? And
it's a habit.
Yeah, it's a habit, and you've expressed that it took you bumping up against 320 something odd days, never thinking necessarily that you would get relief from it.
And here's the thing. I spoke to this individual this morning, and Benicio, if you're sitting out there, hello, it's nice. Thank you for the breakthrough. Because I was thinking, I said to him, I never ever thought or believed that anything that I was doing was going to necessarily have this breakthrough where this would go away. When I'm rolling
the voice,
the voice in my head, the hamster wheel of, oh my God, what did you do? I can't believe it. Playing chess against myself. I didn't think that was ever going to go away. After so many days, I thought to myself, I can live with this. I can live with this and love myself anyway.
Wow.
And that was on Friday. I said this to myself. I said it to myself on Saturday, right before I went to the mall and smiled like a happy guy through the entire mall. I thought to myself, I can live with this and love myself anyway. And it was like complete surrender into, oh wow, that's fine. I can. But after that happened, these events that I was thinking about, all of that noise, I want to call it noise, stopped.
You just said something so important. You actually surrendered to it instead of fighting it all the time. And we can't neglect that as a huge component of what happened, and accepting that you would love yourself anyway. And so the voice got quieter. So in coaching, we talk a lot about this voice, this chatterbox, the noise inside the head, the self-judgment, the self-talk, the things that run you, all of the stories. And I always encourage people to acknowledge that voice and understand that the harder they try to bump up against it, the louder it will, especially if transformation is happening and that
it gets louder.
It only gets louder. But your own acknowledgement of that is what eventually will change the tide, and that voice will get softer. But it's a process. It's a process that gets to be honored, and everybody has their own path. But what you're speaking into is something that is so critical, because you're an example, a living, breathing example, and I am myself too, of it does get quieter. Keep at it. Keep going. Knowing that there is a relief from the shackle of that. And a lot of it has to do with surrender. And I love you anyway. That's huge what you just said.
It was, I can't tell you how many mornings it was. If I got up at 3:46, then I failed. Wow. I would tear myself down, tear myself out if I wasn't on point. And here's the thing, I set it up for failure. Hear me out. Hear me out, because the amount of checkpoints that I had in one day was like between 67 and 73 checkpoints. When I say checkpoints, like 3:45 in the morning was a checkpoint. My oatmeal getting finished at a particular time, like a minute wise, was a checkpoint. Sometimes I called them checkpoints, sometimes I didn't, because I wanted to see those little check-offs and get these little wins. Those were important for me for a time. They worked for a time.
Okay.
But every time I didn't make a checkpoint, I would beat myself up and beat myself up.
Right.
Until I recognized that I was getting in my own way, because every single time I would beat myself up, I would lose 15 minutes. Or I would lose an hour.
Yeah, talk about a time suck.
But this is where I got in my own way.
Sure,
And
'cause
underneath
we all
the
do.
do you love yourself conversation, you ask yourself this question. I have: are you getting in your own way for the things that you want to do? And how are you getting in your own way? Because if you truly love yourself, if you're not on time, or if you don't do something, or you don't mix a goal, it's so what, now what? Okay, I could do something better next time, but I did my best. Even if you
Right.
didn't do your best, it's that act of compassion, self-compassion,
Right.
that gave me the freedom over the weekend and whatever it's continuing today. It's
Right.
just this beautiful freedom.
So you mentioned something here. So in our society, sometimes self-compassion can come across as excuses, right? So people give themselves an out. People give themselves excuses. So what is the distinction that you've now created for yourself? The difference between saying to yourself, Jay, you did your best. And on this day, your best is good enough. As opposed to, oh my God, I just let myself out of that. That it's an excuse. What is the distinction that you've created for yourself?
It's a powerful question, but I call it just my gut check.
Okay.
When I have my health goals right now and I'm walking past a candy bar, I'm going to give you an example that you can understand. And I walk past it because I know what my goals are.
Right.
I know what my commitment is to my goals.
Again, so clarity.
But at the end of the day, whether I eat the chocolate bar or not, it's a neutral conversation. Where I really get to access the compassion, I think the distinction you're looking for is, how do I look at myself in the mirror the next morning? When I look at my belly, I'm like, oh my God, I ate that chocolate bar. And why'd you do that? Oh my God, you don't look as much. It's going to take you 2 weeks to do, to get back to where you were. That stopped this morning. I mean, that stopped for the last couple of days as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain it. I just know that I did 322 days of just going up against it every single day. Journaling, Facebook, going to the office, the body transformation, the business transformation.
Yeah.
Supporting others. And speaking to some of you personally. And we want to say, if I don't want to forget, I say hi to Nene.
Hi, Nene. Thank you for watching and supporting us.
And Kim and Kimmy and Lisa,
Yes.
thank you for all of your support. Really appreciate you. And but these are the things, when I was asked that today, I was able to give the answer of self-love, of I'm not beating myself up.
Yeah.
That's
huge.
self-love. Because what does that do for me when I'm not beating myself up? It means I'm not getting in my own way. Because what we're talking about here is momentum, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And any and all the reasons to get out of momentum, you're getting in your own way.
Right.
I will tell you, it is easier to stay in motion than to get in motion. I'm going to say that again because it's very important. It's easier to stay in motion than get in motion. For about 2 months, actually about 6 weeks, I was more or less off my program. And then for about 2 weeks, I was completely off my program. I wasn't in the gym. I wasn't eating. If I was eating, I was eating about 3,000 calories extra a day of sugar and sweets and everything else. But I kept on journaling. There's something that I do every single day, no matter what. And it could be journaling. At one period of time, it was eating oatmeal. But it was my one thing.
Okay.
So I had this thing, I call it the pilot light of motivation. And I'm going to say this again because it's important. The pilot light of motivation, of momentum, excuse me, is the one thing that you've done that day that you can say that, okay, well, I was still on my program. I was still doing something.
And it was inching you toward your clarity, your goal, your commitment.
And then getting back into my entire routine was a whole lot of compassion. I did a step down and step up. Step down and step up. What I did was I stopped with the sugar, like so much sugar one day, and then less the next day, and less the next day. And then what I did was I started to go to work out. I started to get up a little bit earlier, and I started to not beat myself up for the little stuff.
Get back in the swing.
And that's how I did it.
Well, and it's really important to mention, too, that when you don't beat yourself up, not only are you getting out of your own way, but you're actually allowing yourself to experience joy. And we have laughed and had more fun in the last couple of weeks than in a really, really long time.
Belly laughs.
Belly laughs. Like reminiscing about things that we probably thought we would never, ever laugh about. but really going there and just being.
But the people around us also are.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah.
people around us are feeling. Okay,
Happier.
the people around me
More joyful.
are feeling happier,
Yeah.
more joyous, and I feel it.
Yeah.
And
They're more open, more connected.
I don't know if we have anybody on the line. I want to give the number out one more time.
Please.
It's 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470.
And we invite you to also comment on Facebook. We'd love to give anybody a shout out, or if anyone has any questions, we'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, and we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Farrow Law Firm. Are you in default with your loan modification? Has your rate adjusted? We can help. Reach out to us today and we'll put our 10 years of foreclosure defense experience to work for you. Call us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show.
With Jay and Janine, give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
And welcome back one more time to the Momentum Mindset Show. I am your host, Jay Farrow.
And I am your co-host, Janine Davis. Welcome back, everybody.
And we're actually getting into a pretty good discussion here.
Yeah, I think so. It's funny, Jay and I talk about what we're going to talk about for the show, and so we have a lot of interaction. And as you may know by now, we work together, and so we're like, yeah, that, you know. So it's funny. I kept our friend Gina was like, no, definitely, you guys should talk about that. And I'm so glad we are, because again, we're a show that is all about momentum, all about forward movement, but also about provoking thought. I want everybody who's listening, either now, live, or if you see this again, how do you love yourself?
How do you love? And speaking
how do you love
you
yourself?
just brought up a couple of things. Some Gina and Millie in the Dominican Republic.
Yes, thank you, Millie.
And I know that she's given us a lot of suggestions, and we've been getting really good feedback.
Really good feedback.
Because
we're so open. We just started this.
We're having the time of our life, and we like to get better, to make this a safe space.
Yeah.
As one big community accountability group. And it's going to grow. Right now, we don't have that many phone calls or any,
right,
but
right.
we will. And, we have some people writing. Julie, thank you for writing in.
Thank you so much, Julie.
And Gina, Monica, Diana,
thank
you.
Monica, everybody. Jonas Lindstrom from Sweden. Wow. God bless you.
Hey, Jonas. It's, things have, on a happy scale,
yes,
gone up in the last week and a half exponentially.
Yes.
And one of the things that I will share is on Sunday.
Okay, we have a comment. I'm so sorry, Jay, to interrupt you. From Julie. She says, "Where does does muscle confusion come into play?" Julie, I would love to answer that. Please say more. I'm not sure I understand the question fully. Well, I guess the confusion.
If you didn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Julie, you'll write back in, and
yeah,
we'll connect
Julie,
with you.
write back in, because I would really love to answer your question. But if I were to interpret that, I would say the confusion comes into play when you don't have clarity, right? So I know that sounds obvious, but what I mean by that is it involves intention and clarity. And when all of those things are not in alignment, then your brain is completely muddled. And a lot of confusion can happen, but I don't know if that's what you mean. So write back in,
so
please.
What I was going to share was on Sunday, I woke up at 7:30 in the morning, and Jeanine and I sing in the St. Anthony Choir in Fort Lauderdale every Sunday, and I play a prelude to the Mass, where it's a piano piece that I write every single week. And lately, Janine's been kind enough to film the musical piece. So at 7:30 in the morning, I felt like I didn't really want to go. I was like, well, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep in. I'm no judgment. It's just self-care. And then I had a voice said, what if somebody else would benefit from listening to you this morning? What if you got out and get your we have
Oh my gosh, we have a
Julie on the
caller.
phone. So we have Julie on the phone, and we're going to go ahead and patch you through. So Julie?
Hi.
Hey. I want to congratulate you. You are our second caller, but you're like one of our first official United States callers. So, congratulations!
Oh my goodness, that's so nice.
Welcome,
Wow.
welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Julie, what would you like to say?
Well, so I asked the question, where does muscle confusion come into play?
Okay.
And what I was trying to say with that is, when we're in our comfort zone, sometimes we get so comfortable there. Like when I was listening to Jay talk about how, he gets up here and he does this and he does his whole routine. And sometimes that becomes our comfort zone. And we need to switch it up.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I think that speaking about Jay right now and from the outside looking in, I think he just had this massive breakthrough because he broke out of his extremely disciplined box of comfort.
Because I did find comfort.
So thank you for pointing that out, Julie. I think that's huge.
Yeah, Julie, I did, when I was getting up from 3:45 to 11:45. I mean, that was my escape in a lot of ways. Although I was opening myself up in certain ways and becoming uncomfortable, it became comfortable after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And when it became comfortable, and if I got out of the routine, though, that's when things happened. That's when depression set in. Very easily for me to fall into depression. And if I wasn't in that routine and knew what I was doing for the next 15 minutes, I didn't know where I was going. So it's one of those things about being mindful of overdoing it.
Yeah.
Not just overdoing it, but what's underneath all of it.
And why are you doing it?
Why are you
I think
doing it?
losing your why to doing it, again, we just spoke about this a little bit last time, but it's like the doingness can be a mask. Even though it looks good on the outside, 3:45, gym, 7 square meals, it's all really sort of disciplined and that six-pack abs and all that stuff. But sometimes even that can be a new comfort zone to disconnect. Is that what you're also you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
we need to have some muscle confusion come into play. And it sounds like he's had it this week.
It
The
started.
only reason I'm speaking on this distinction is because I'm having it.
Oh, really?
Well, please tell us about what's going on with you.
I have been Airbnb my home, which has been a great adventure and bringing me in a great little income.
Fantastic.
And my substitute housing situation has not come through. So I've been kind of couch surfing and doing a few things and really out of my comfort zone. But in the meantime, I've got all this nice income coming in and good things happening.
Okay.
So
Contrast.
it's just trying to hold that flow, that peace and everything while great things are happening. And, there's always movement. There's always some other comfort that's not there that you got to keep moving through.
And Julie, that's one of the
Right.
things that I found, that if I knew that I was doing that one thing a day, that I didn't give up, and sometimes it was eating the oatmeal or journaling on Facebook, I knew that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
If everything else was out of sorts, I knew if there was just one thing that I committed to that day. So I didn't do it like every single day, but I committed to it that day.
Right.
And it could be something very, very small,
Right.
something that I knew I could complete.
So, Julie, for you, my curiosity would be, what do you think that one thing could be for you to sort of anchor you no matter what the circumstances are?
For me right now, it's affirmative prayer.
Okay.
Nice.
All
That's
is
amazing.
Well, I am good. I am healthy. I'm, perfect, whole, and complete.
Wow.
And just keep that mantra going, because
Yeah.
right now it's not so easy, but I know in another month, I just got to get different ducks in a row. It just, things didn't, come out the way I had planned. But that's all right. Like, I get to be comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Right. Or sometimes just acknowledging that you're not comfortable in the uncomfortable, and that's okay too, right? Because I think that sometimes we're always trying to make it better for ourselves, but sometimes it just sucks and it's uncomfortable, and we get to like also move past that piece because it's temporary. It's only always temporary, and there's something really rich in it for you. And so your growth or whatever you're up to is leading you to whatever nugget that you need in your own life to sort of take you to that next level.
Exactly, I agree. And I just thought it was one little, maybe distinction is the wrong word, but one little point that gets to be made here while we're having these conversations.
Yeah. No, I love it. I can't thank you enough
Thank
for
you, Julie.
calling in and participating, and we hope to hear from you a lot more, and I can't wait to catch up with you.
With that, I'm complete.
Thanks, Julie.
Yes, thank you so much, Julie.
No, thank you both.
Yay.
And she just did something that was at the end of the call. She said, and we're complete. Or I am complete. Believe it or not, that creates clarity in the conversation. It's something that actually, when the conversation's finish or something like that, is that clarity in communication between two people that just makes something like this work.
Yeah.
And let me speak a little bit into that. When Julie's speaking and she's sharing very vulnerably about what she's going through, or Janine, or any of you, I mean, we want to hear you out. I mean, we want to hear what's going on, what's coming up for you. And when you're speaking, the most important, I would say, the most amazing gift you can ever give to another human being is your presence. It's your paying attention to what they have to say, because there's nothing for me that's a greater feeling than knowing that I matter, or that you make me feel like I matter. Not that I'm saying that I need an external, but when I know that someone's paying attention to me, I feel like I belong. I feel connected. And when we're doing this work with each other or with any of you,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that's so important, is to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And how to share, because it's only to our benefit, because what you're really telling us is things that we really need to hear, or I need to hear.
Absolutely. I mean, again, we talk about we're on our own journeys of expansion, again, and we're aware that every single day and every single opportunity, as much as we've figured out, we have so much more to figure out. And it's so wonderful to be able to create this community to exchange ideas and exchange feelings and exchange experiences, because we get to learn constantly. And we get to grow constantly through interactions and experiences with all of you. And this is really like what it's all, for me, what it's all about.
It really is. It is a beautiful feeling to give and receive that presence.
Yeah.
And we hope you felt that a little bit in this first phone call about the topic.
We encourage you all
as
if you're not shy, or please call in. We'd love to hear from you.
And we're actually able to see now your posts on Facebook on our monitor, so we can also
questions,
address your questions.
Yes.
I didn't forget about the church thing. I wanted to get back to that, because
please.
It was just one of those moments that I made a decision to get out of my comfort zone. I was comfortable in bed, but I thought, what if I got up and acted and just put aside my discomfort of not wanting to wake up on a Sunday morning and gone and given the gift of music to somebody? And that thought I also credit for my personal healing. Being in service of another human being, there's nothing like it.
There really is nothing like it. When you hear the most successful people in the world, people where money is no longer an object. They're no longer working for money. They're working for other things. They're working for legacy. They're working for all kinds of different things. But one of the things that when I study these people, that I always find the most consistent and the most beautiful is that they all talk about service to others, in their family, in the community, in all different ways. And it means something different to everybody else, to everybody. has a different idea of what service is, but it's really the exchange of giving to the other, and through giving to the other, you receive as well. So it's like really a perfect circle of abundance. And to think of it in that way is something that's really, really rewarding.
And the reason why I bring it up is I'm going back to self-love.
Yes.
If you're talking about evidence of self-love, and someone says, well, I show up and I give my time to
a soup kitchen.
Kitchen, or those, and because I know the feeling of giving, and that we had an experience of this the other day where I was actually just able to just give something to somebody and just watch their face as it just lit up. I think the moment we're in our office. It's one of those things that when you're really connected to making another human feel just a little bit better.
Yeah, and that they're important and that they matter. All of those things are just extremely rewarding. I mean, it's really like when you get the idea like, oh, wow, we really are in this together.
And I'm going to want to tie this up after our next break because I think we got one more to go. So if we can take one more break, and we'll see you on the other side to wrap up the show.
Thank you. Thank you all for tuning in.
Farrow Law Firm. Are you in default with your loan modification? Has your rate adjusted? We can help. Reach out to us today and we'll put our 10 years of foreclosure defense experience to work for you. Call us at 954-252-9818, online at farrowlawfirm.com, and on Facebook at Farrow Law Firm.
You've been listening to the Momentum Mindset Show
with Jay and Janine. Give us a call at 888-565-1470. And now back to the show.
And welcome back one more time to the Momentum Mindset Show. It's Friday afternoon. I'm your host, Jay Farrow.
And I'm Janine Davis. Welcome back, everybody.
And we're just finishing a conversation about being in service to another human being. And the reason why we wanted to talk about this and flow to this point is getting to this accountability buddy thing as well.
Yeah,
I mean, talking about the services you give to somebody else, and accountability buddy is not a paid position.
It is not. I can assure you all that it is not a paid position.
It's paid. It's paid in other ways. I mean, and when you find someone that wants you to go after life like you want to go after your life, it takes time. It doesn't. It's not. It's for us. It was organic. But there's no substitute for accountability for the things that you're up to in your life. I mean, to know that you can reach out to somebody and say all the things that we've been saying in the show. Had a good day, had a bad day, been depressed. I've been really depressed. And to share these things, or what's your take on this?
I'm coming out of the fog. I'm seeing the light again. I'm feeling joy again. All of those things. It's all part of it.
And to see the breakthroughs, to see the trials, to see this. He's called an expansion, growth, transformation.
Yeah.
I can put it in words. Finding that accountability buddy is something that is key.
We'd like to encourage everybody to find their accountability buddy, and also to look to this show and to the mindset, the Momentum Mindset movement as your community in order to do so, because it's important, and we are stronger together.
We are stronger together. The other thing, on top of an accountability buddy, there are other people, such as yourself, that do life coaching, and other types of coaching.
Yeah.
And I would like you to share with the audience a little bit about what is a life coach? What does a life coach do? Because accountability buddies, we're bouncing ideas off each other. I tell you my goals. I'm going to tell you what's coming up for me, and share vulnerably with you. There's a safe space that we talk to.
Right.
Coach is a little bit different.
Coach is a little bit different. So I'd like to speak into that, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so. So really a coach is not what a lot of people think a coach is. Sometimes people will say, well, you're the coach, tell me what to do. In in classic traditional coaching, you are safe space and you partner with your coachee to create the results that they want. You're not an expert in your coachee's life. They are the expert of their life. And it's on you as the coach to assist them in drawing out their own greatness.
So if I said,
but you don't give it to them.
So I say, I hire you and I say, okay, I need you to show me how to live my life. That's not what we're doing here.
That's not what we're doing here.
Okay.
Although, as the coach, I'm asking really powerful questions to you that help you to clarify what your definition of your best life is. That's what coaching does. But I'm not telling you what your best life is because only you know that. And so that's why it's such an authentic and powerful relationship, because it's the coach constantly mirroring back your own power, not the coach's, not anybody else's, but your own. And that's why coaching is so transformative.
There's a lot of coaches out there here that in different realms.
Sure, absolutely. Nutrition coaches, health coaches, love coaches, relationship coaches, breathwork coaches, life coaches, business coaches, all kinds of different people. So there's something for everyone. And sometimes in coaching, there's also an element of consulting. But that has to be an upfront agreement. Otherwise, it's all about you and your shine, your power.
When someone would ask you to coach, and what are some of the things to expect from a coach as opposed to a friend or an accountability buddy? I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I've had coaches when I was a kid, soccer. I have coaches today. I mean,
yes.
I have
several.
I have several coaches in my life, and we're going to have a show about all those professionals. Yeah. I think next week we might set something like that up.
Yeah.
About what those
Stay
types
tuned.
when you get specialized, you niche down into different types of coaches. But what generally, like what is something that someone can expect? Because I know some of our listeners are thinking about, okay, I want to take my life on, and I've heard a lot about coaching. I've heard a lot about what the results could be. I know a friend who's got a coach, and they're gone from 0 to 100 in a couple of months.
Right.
What are some of the things that you can expect, or some of the things that you should look for when you're looking for a coach?
My personal opinion, and I have a coach as well. So when I'm working with my coach, I'm looking for someone who is extremely present, really understands that they are not necessarily the expert of my life. They're not necessarily telling me that it's good, but they're allowing me the space to come to my own very powerful conclusions
About the results that they want to create?
About the results that I want to create. Right. So it's very centered on the actual coachee. You're not driving your coach's agenda. You're driving your own agenda. And this is really a big distinction.
I would imagine you're looking at I take a sports example. You're looking at Michael Jordan, and you see him, and as a coach, you can point out blind spots. You can see the player inside of what that person could possibly or potentially be. Exactly.
So through the process of coaching, the coach and the coachee are working together to identify the blind spots, to identify stories that are running the coachee, things that are where they're getting in their own way. But it's a partnership. It's, again, not an authoritative sort of kind of thing. It's a really organic, profound conversation between two people that exists. And advice is given when appropriate, but it's not the driver or the purpose of the coaching.
What about that kick in the tuchus when someone actually needs it? Because I've said in this show that if you're creating the life that you want to live, a life worth living, and you let anything get in between you and that life worth living, that life dies. So this is a matter, I said it before, I'll say it again, this is a matter of life and death.
Yeah.
So you're hiring somebody, that is going to be accountable to you. Right. But also that, I mean, is it a gentle kick in the
Well, it depends, and that's a really, really great question. So when I work with people, so let's say I were working with you. You are not the gentle approach type of person.
No, I'm not.
But the upfront agreement between us is that I ask you how you particularly want to be held accountable. Not what's comfortable, but what is effective for you. Okay? And so this is something that we discuss up front. I discuss this with absolutely every client I've ever worked with because it's going to be different. I am someone who, different to you, I actually have I don't seem it, but I have a very rebellious spirit. So when people are in my face like that in a very sort of confrontational way, I shut down. That doesn't work for me. So when I'm the client, I need something different. But the distinction is that, again, since I'm not the driver, of the or the one who is actually achieving the result, because the coachee has all of the power, right? But we're working in tandem together. So what happens is I am aware of what the coachee needs, and therefore I can supply that. So I do actually currently have a client who needs a little bit of a heavier hand. So independent of the fact that I don't need a heavy hand like that, he does. So I give it. And this person actually has really, I've been working with him for about a year, a little over a year. His business is now at the funding stage. He's now getting a prototype done. He has completely turned his inner life around. He's now working, he's socializing, he's dating, a lot of different things. But it took that time and space and those sometimes gentle kicks and sometimes heavier kicks to be like, okay, I'm not buying your nonsense or your story today. What are you committed to? And holding that person accountable in a way that is different than when you are with a friend.
If you're open to it, if people are calling in on the show, is there a way to do some laser coaching for them?
Absolutely. I would love that. That's what I live
think
for.
that in the last minute that we have here, I want to thank everybody. I see that Kim has now written in. I see Nene has DM'd me, and I just want to say again, thank you for all of your support.
Thank you guys for all of your support. Thank you, Susan, Melissa, everybody who is tuning in and watching us live. Thank you so much, Julie and Monica.
Yeah, and we're going to do this. This is a safe space.
Yeah,
we want everybody to be able to call in and suggest topics on Facebook.
Absolutely.
And
let us know what you want to talk about and hear about.
And we'll be here next week at 5 p.m. And this is the Momentum Mindset Show. Your host, Jay Farrow.
And Janine Davis.
Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Momentum Mindset Show. For your hosts, Jay and Janine, we'll see you here next week. Thank you for being real, authentic, and honest.
If you'd like to reach us, please contact us on our Facebook page, The Momentum Mindset Show, or on our office phone line, which is 954-559-6987.
We are stronger together.
And remember, keep going.